Today's guest, is it Ryan? Can I call you Ryan?
Yeah, you can call me Ryan.
Ryan, Ryze Official Music. What's up, dude?
What's up, Charlie? How we doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to finally talk. We've, been producing without seeing each other or talking to each other, and we've been writing together for a couple months now.
Yeah.
for
I was
TV
just
film.
thinking about that. How crazy is that? That
It's very
we're
weird.
we're now in a world where we've worked together for 2 months. We probably
Yeah.
have 7 tracks together, and
Yeah.
this is the first time we're actually seeing each other and speaking to each other.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. I'll get reference tracks now, or I'll see the reference track before you even send me anything. And I'm like, oh, he's gonna do this because I think, and maybe this is just for me, but I think what you have to do to crack that, to get it to sound just close enough to the reference without, obviously
Mhm.
overstepping, is so hard. It's almost harder than what I'm doing. It's because you're going from scratch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It's
what is? Yeah,
it's
how is that
it's
for you?
definitely interesting, but for me, what I think helps me in that process is that for years, like before doing this, I was in a cover band. And our whole thing is we would try and create mashups and medleys to
Yeah.
where we made basically new backing tracks that would resemble what the actual cover song was, but we would
Oh,
kind of make it our own in an original kind of way. So
yeah.
we would do medleys and mashups. And I kind of do the same thing with this. Like if there's a reference track, I'll dissect it to where I get the textures that are used, but then
Right.
I will kind of cater it to like when we first started speaking, you had mentioned that you kind of have a vocal wheelhouse of where like your power points are in
Mhm.
key. So I'll kind of stay between like a D minor, like we'll do D minor a lot, or F sharp
Yeah.
major and stuff, because like E is like a good one for you. I feel like your voice sits
Yeah.
really well around that.
Sure.
But I kind of keep it all around that. So I want to capture the same feeling, but and using similar textures, but people are gonna listen to it and be like, oh, that sounds like this. But
Yeah,
that's
and that's the
that's with
idea.
any song.
Yeah. Don't you think? Yeah, I think it's good for them to be like, there's almost some sort of familiarity, even with like hit songs on the radio. They're like, oh, I think I've heard that somewhere before.
Yeah. And you're
It's
gonna get
really
more
cool.
and more of that as time goes on. That's
Yeah,
just bound to
definitely.
happen. There's only so many things that you can do.
There's only so many. I know there's so many. So I want to ask you about your background. Basically, when did you start, and did you start as a songwriter or as a producer?
I started as it was kind of like a hybrid because
Okay.
when I was young, I lived with my dad, and he is a producer, musician, songwriter as well. So he and his partner and his team, they would be over the house, and he was in a wedding band. So like from the age of like 4 to 5,
Mhm.
like I was listening to their band rehearsals, and I probably heard Mustang Sally about 4,000 times in my life. But
Sure.
like just
Yeah.
listening to their harmonies and stuff. And then when he wasn't doing that, we had a studio at the house that he would have artists come and they would write music together. And I would just watch the process of what that was. So it was kind of
Right.
like a conditioning thing where it's just like what I saw and I became interested in it and learned the ins and outs pretty young. But I didn't actually start doing stuff on my own because like me, and I fully understand it now. But like when I was like 10, I was like, Dad, can I go mess around in the studio? Like
Uh-huh.
now me, like I'm 30, I just got engaged, but like I'm picturing my 10-year-old kid with all of my equipment and
Oh,
all the stuff on my hard drives, being
yeah.
my 10-year-old kid being like, yo, can I go mess around? No, absolutely not. Not until you know what a hard drive does. Like, so I get it, but he
Totally.
finally let me start to mess around at like 14, 15 on my own in there. And I was just messing around with GarageBand and whatever, but I would make my tracks and then I would just write songs over top of them. Not to release anything, but just
Right.
like as stuff for me to have and to show my dad and show my friends. And
Was it in the hit? Was it hip hop kind of stuff, or
he was big in R&B, and I think
R&B?
I think I credit a lot to that to like the wedding band stuff also, because
Yeah.
like my influences were like Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire, like a lot of that
Yeah, man.
that feeling
Yeah.
that I got from those kinds of chords and rhythms used in their music.
Right.
Like I love Motown stuff, but I translate that into a lot of what I liked when I was young because that's what I heard a lot. So that's what I studied a lot. And it was a lot of the jazzy chords, a lot of the syncopated rhythms, counter melodies. But I just think there's more feeling in that kind of music.
Definitely. It's funny you say that, because that's exactly my parents definitely a healthy dose of Motown growing up, and my parents met in a band, and that's all they were playing was Motown. They, for 10 years mom was the lead singer, dad lead saxophone. Just like they would play Prince sets and like Earth, Wind and Fire sets and just all that stuff. And so I grew up with all that stuff.
Musical families, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm telling you. But so, you have told me over email that you generally stick with the hip hop R&B stuff, and like this pop stuff and the top 40 kind of thing is new for you. So
it is and it isn't, because when I was producing, like just selling instrumentals and selling beats, which I started to dabble with like 10 years ago, but I only did it like very rarely. I was doing mainly hip hop and instrumental stuff, but then I joined the band that I played with. We were doing cover shows, but we were also an original band, and our original stuff was pop. Mm-hmm. So I kind of got into the creation of it, but never really into the production of it. Like I could write a pop song and kind of structure it, but as far as like textures and sounds and stuff, I was never really honing in on it until probably about a year and a half ago, to where I really started getting comfortable enough to being like, you know what, I can actually make tracks like this. So
you can expand.
Yeah. And I would use knowledge and experience that I had from like the hip hop and R&B influences into the pop stuff. So I was trying to take from what I had and create some new stuff. But as far as, because mainstream pop is different than like the sync pop. So like for sync stuff, this was all brand new to me. Like there's structures and techniques and melodies and stuff that would work really well in the sync world and would work not so great in the pop world.
Yeah.
So that was all a new venture for me. I've learned a lot about the sync stuff over the last 6-7 months.
It's interesting.
It's a completely different ballgame.
It totally is. It's very interesting. My dad was, he's still a musician and engineer, and they run their own jingle audio voiceover company. Both my parents do. Just the two of them. And so he's been, I know it's impressive, but he's been harping on me for years to get into the sync world. And I wanted no part of it, because I felt like it was a long haul. Like it was a slog, you know what I mean? Because cold, I would try to cold pitch people, like just send them emails and be like, hey, I got these tracks, Yeah. I don't know if you can use them, but it's really just about getting your foot in one place. You know what I mean?
And that's it, because I always knew that there was money in it, because I heard from, my dad, who tried to do the same thing. For me, it was just overwhelming to think like, okay, how many people are trying to do this? Yeah. How many people are emailing them? And when people ask, it's so weird, because when you don't know, you think there should be an answer. When it's like, okay, well, who do I email? Like, who do I talk to? Like, how do you get your foot in the door?
Yeah.
But then once you do it, like my foot is now, somewhat through the door. Like I wouldn't say I'm all the way in the door, but I at least have a placement that I can put on my resume that shows that I'm in the door at least a little bit. Yeah. It's weird, because there is no one answer. It's not like I hit one person up and that was the answer. It was a combination of little mini steps. Like
totally. And most of those steps were.
The first one I ever did was from a Facebook group that I was in, and somebody happened to post a link with a brief that said, hey, I need this. I reached out, I answered, he loved what I did, and then I messed around with him for a little bit. Didn't get any hits, but he had briefs for me all the time. Yeah. And then I started posting those on Instagram and hashtagging sync licensing and sync community and all this stuff until somebody reached out from the sync community and Music Boulevard, and they were like, hey, you did all this? We would love to have you submit some stuff through this email. And so it's just a combination of things that there's not one thing that you can do to get your foot in the door. You got to take these little mini steps and go through the process.
Most of those steps are doors slammed shut in your face. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Are like, and people not getting back to you, people because they got their own shit going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're not specifically worried about placing your little, from a cold email. They're not going to be like, oh, this guy's got the best 10 tracks.
Nobody in
ever.
that office said, hold everything you're doing. Ryze just emailed us a track. We have to make sure this gets in here.
I never met him. This is the first email I got from the guy.
Yeah. I never heard of this guy, but we have to put him on.
By the way, we both got placements in Call of Duty recently.
Yeah, dude. Congrats to you as well.
Weird is that? Awesome. Yeah, but you had your whole track. It's the whole track, right? So how did that happen for you?
That was a co-production.
Right.
And I have to credit Andre because he was the driving force in that entire track. I did a lot of supplemental stuff to the track. So that's a bigger win for him, win for me nonetheless. But it's enough for me to, get my foot in, whatever. But a lot of credit goes to him.
Did they come to you separately from the Music Sync, or is it for the Music Boulevard? Did they come to you separately with that lead?
They did. Yeah, that wasn't through Sync. That was through Sync Community. But it was a I guess a tandem effort with Sync Community and Music Boulevard.
Yeah, that's what they did with me. They were like, and they didn't use any of my vocals. They gave me a writing credit, $500. I'm happy for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was same thing that happened to me.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about because I have sent them. By the way, I just got a new Dropbox notification for them from Music Boulevard.
There it is.
There we go. I wanted to ask because I was asking them about the continuation past, like once we're done with all these briefs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they kind of lean towards what you were saying, which is like they're gonna hunker down after all these are done and just like make get through them, mix them differently or whatever.
Yeah.
But and they'll be like, yeah, we'll keep you in mind for opportunities down the line or whatever. But I'm trying to figure out a way to not, I guess, leverage this into more work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I mean, just the way that I view it, the way I view everything I do, pretty much is that they know who I am. They know I'm here. They know that when they need something from me, I get it to them reasonably fast and efficiently. And if they ever need it, like before this, my schedule's been insane with the sync writing camp. But before that, maybe once, twice a month, I would get, hey, we have this. Like, A, are you interested in doing it? B, can you do it? What, like, C, here's some stuff, whatever. Not nearly as much as it is right now. But if they are going to reach out to me, they'll reach out to me. But for me, I stopped waiting on stuff like a long time ago, and it helped my mental and it helped my, it helped my workflow because now I'm just like, yeah, I can use that to leverage a little bit, but it's not like I'm going to focus all of my time on reaching out to exclusive playlists and playlist managers and whatever and be like, hey, and have a copy paste email where it's like, I got this Call of Duty placement. I do sync stuff. You would love to have me on your team, whatever. Like I've done enough. I celebrated it for a little bit, but now it's out. Now it's like, what else can I do? How can I ride this momentum in the time being? Even if at the time that I get it within a month or two period, how can I use a congratulations post for myself to like connect with somebody new that could potentially have something else? Like I'm not going to sit in that one moment for too long. And in terms of them reaching out, all I can do is like do my best when they do reach out and hope that, that translates. Like I can't control when they're going to reach out to me. So I'd rather not like harp on it too much because then I'll drive myself insane.
Yeah. Let's get into that a little bit. So how much of it's completely, it definitely starts with the mental game. You have to be, and to do what we're doing, because like you said, you can't wait for people to email you just out of the blue. You have to, when did that completely flip for you? When did you go to, I got to make this shit happen on my own and do the beat store and everything, which is awesome, by the way.
Thank you. I think everything for me changed mentally in July of last year. I was in my band. I hadn't done any, like Ryze was not even a thing, Ryze official music. I was just in the band. I was a vocalist. I was a bassist. I was a songwriter. we were in a contract, and I was just I love the guys in my band. I still talk to them. I'm still writing music for them. There was absolutely nothing. But for me personally, I had reached a time in my life where I had my girlfriend. I was trying to get a life started.
Mhm.
We were traveling, not necessarily seeing the money that we wanted to. I didn't know the direction of, where we were going or how good or long it was going to be. I was just in a lull. And
Right.
we were on our way up to Boston for a show. And I was in the back seat of the car, and I remember the whole car ride. I didn't say a word. I was just manifesting where I wanted my life to be in the next 5 years. And nowhere in that vision was being in the band and continuing the path that I was on. So during that trip, it was like a 5-6 hour trip.
Yeah.
I had came up with a name, Ryze Official Music. I had started a Facebook page. I had started BeatStars. I had just done enough to where it's like, okay, now you're actually moving forward with it.
Right.
And then through the fall, because our contract was up in October of this year, I just started to build somewhat of a relationship by attending virtual and in-person expos and just putting myself out there, because that's something I didn't do before. It's also hard in the band to do stuff for yourself because your success in your life is dictated by 3 other people.
Right.
So it's not like you are doing stuff for yourself, you're doing stuff for your band. So I couldn't really make decisions on my own and just go at the pace that I wanted to, because maybe 2 of the other guys weren't feeling it the same way.
Right.
So I just got into a point where I was in a different mental spot than they were, and I wanted to slowly back out of that and transition into this. And then when that transition took place fully, I think it really was expedited pretty quickly when COVID hit, because everybody was forced into their own house and forced to do their own things.
Right.
I had really hit it strong with this, and I talked to the guys and I said, I'm just doing this full force. Like this is what I'm doing. And at that moment, saying it, getting it off my chest, like getting it behind me, putting it all behind me, and it was almost like a freedom, like a weight lifted.
Yeah.
Then I hit all platforms. I was just go. And then I found out about Twitch. I found out about just anything that I could do. Like I joined chat rooms on Instagram and Twitter, and I just became this entity of my whole thing's positivity and motivation. Like what I went through mentally, you can too. If you're in a lull, if you're in whatever, like that's why that's what I preach on Twitch. And that's why people watch me, because I have that energy that it's inspiring to them, to where it's like, shit, I'm unhappy, but he tells his story. I'm exactly where he was. It is possible. Like, and that motivates me and inspires me to want to do it more. But the mentality, it took me a long time. I was negative, and I say on my Twitch all the time, positive energy yields positive results. It wasn't until that I got rid of that negative, everybody's out for me. Like I can never get a win. I can't, like, if you live with that, your results show it.
Absolutely.
If you go into something with a positive energy, everything's good. You look for the light in the darkness. Then you're going to pull light from the darkness.
Right. Yeah. So the Twitch thing is interesting, because you've been doing that for what, a year and a half now, or how?
Twitch, I just started back in May or April.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think maybe June. It might have been sooner than that.
Wow. I guess because it seems like you built a cult audience. I mean, it seems like you built a nice.
So that was through. So Illmind is a producer.
Illmind.
Very, very established, respected, well-known producer. And I've been attending his. They're called BLAP sessions. They were used to be past the aux sessions, but basically, he used to do a tour where he would go to different cities, and 20 producers from that area could buy a ticket and go in, and you would talk shop, and then you would play your music. Well, I did about 4 in Philadelphia, and I did 3 or 4 of his online ones. And just from being in those, I built up a nice relationship where whenever I pop in, like, he's not going to hit me up on the phone, but it's enough to where, I can have a conversation with him about pretty much anything. And some of his fan base knows who I am now. So using that to my advantage and wanting to give back as much as I do,
Yeah.
I just make myself available in his community, and a lot of the people that I work with a lot now and that tune into my Twitch and stuff, that all came from Illmind's Twitch, which I
Right.
started watching back in March, and then I was like, all right, watch and learn. How can I, pull what his process is, and then kind of adapt it to my process.
Right.
But that's what I've been doing there, and that's why I think we're over 200 followers on Twitch now. Usually have like 15 to 20 people tuning in live.
And you're
by the
talking
end
and
of-
making beats, right? You're just
Yeah, I'm working with other producers. They send me loops and I make beats to their loops. Sometimes we'll do custom tracks. Sometimes I did one where I think I was working on one of your tracks just to show them
yeah.
I'm not just doing hip hop stuff. Like,
Sure.
and this is what it takes.
Right.
And I could usually flip a hip hop track in a half hour, 40 minutes where
Yeah.
it's like done, completed. Like I think I spent like 4 hours on one sync track because that takes a certain type of like meticulous planning to where it's not just the normal flip, but people just enjoy the process.
Yeah,
and
they do.
I usually try to stop and explain what I'm doing. So that way they get something out of it. It's not because I do it more to draw people in, to teach people, because when I had those questions when I was younger, nobody was answering them. So that's what I want to, be, known as.
Absolutely. Yeah, when we were doing that, it reminds me of when we were doing that the Flowrida one. Remember that?
I love that track, by the way.
That's a great track. That one literally had like 25 or 30 separate vocal tracks that I had.
Did it really?
Yeah, because they kept coming back to me like, no, because I'd never done anything like that before.
Yeah,
they were like, you got to have like, because there were like 5 different ad lib tracks, like this woos and heys and yes, and you know what I mean, like shit like that. That is just like, it's party music, you know what I mean? But was that one of the closest things to what you were used to doing, or how hard was that for you?
It was
one more time, I think it was called. Yeah, it seemed hip hop, I guess you could say.
Yeah, hip hop. That was similar to, I guess, what we were doing at a time. Right. The hard part when I was in the band was we could never find our sound. Like we would do tracks like that, but then we were a traditional band, so we would have some tracks that were rocky and whatever. But I like doing tracks like that. Like I produced a lot of EDM in the late 2000s, so I liked doing that. That one was fun for me, and I've listened to a lot of Flowrida to where I kind of understood what the sound was, like where we were trying to go. But that was like, I've had fun doing them all because I just love learning. But like that one was more on the fun side. I actually showed a couple of my friends that one like the night after I finished, and I was like, yo, this is a jam. Like this is a party jam.
How long did it take you to just for that track alone?
The sync tracks usually take me like 6 to 7 hours from start to finish.
Okay. That's so funny, man, because they with your tracks, it's just like all I have to do is wait on it and boom, it's perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just feel like a lot of the times, especially now we're in our 7th or 8th track, it's just like they're not going to have many notes for you. All the notes are going to be on top, on the top line stuff, which I'm brand new to as well. So by all means, tell me what I need to do.
This is all a learning experience. And whenever they have notes for me, I mean, I prefer some notes. Like I'd be like, yo, what can I do to make this better? Like,
because like you're saying, it's totally different. I would write completely different if I was writing original stuff for myself. It's got to fit, and it's whatever the client wants goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I try and make it easier for you, like for the writer, no matter who I'm working with, because if they give a reference track and like sometimes I'm like right up to the deadline, which I think are more guideline just to keep us moving along than really like, because by those dates, like it's not like they're sending away for mixing. Sure. But like I try and make it to where it's like, at least if you have a reference track, you can kind of get some kind of melody, even if it's a different key, like a step up or something, you could still write something to what that track is doing and know that I'm going to follow it pretty structurally tight and like arrangement wise.
Go about the reference stuff is like, so I'll listen to it a bunch of times, and then I can't listen to it again, or else I'll start copying it. Is that something that you think about, or?
That's So I mean, I go back to it a lot just for structure because like
Uh-huh.
I'll start where I don't listen to it for sound as much as I do arrangement.
Gotcha.
Because I'll listen to it and then I'll be like, I'll probably get 30, 45 seconds in, or at least one course through. And I'll just get an idea of the textures that they're using. So that way I
Right.
have it fresh in my head. But
Yeah.
I don't want to go same key. I don't want to use the same melodies they have. I don't want to do any of that stuff. So
Right.
once I get the textures, then I will set up the markers of like this is where the chorus is, this is where the pre-chorus is, this is where the bridge
Yeah.
starts, whatever. And then I'll make a new track from scratch from that point because, like you said, I don't want to get it embedded in my head to where
Mhm.
this is what the track needs to sound like, and then it's a complete clone. Like, and
Totally.
even in the references, they say similar production, but not a
Yeah.
complete replica, like not a complete clone.
Right, which
So
is what's
I'm like you, where I listen to it and then
yeah.
kind of just use it as what it's supposed to be, which is a reference.
Yeah, I'll just end up singing the same hook, which apparently I did on the last track. They're gonna, talk to me about that. But
Yeah.
uh, I wanted to go back to. So how long have you been officially producing for? You said 10 years longer than that, or
Yeah. It's probably been about 12 years now that I've
12 years?
actually been working in
So do you
dolls.
have and you said you send off to some people here and then you send off some tracks to them. Do you have
Yeah.
people you go to, or is it like how long did it take you to be able to to finish everything on your own and be like, this is it, this is done, I'm done with it? You know what I mean?
Um, there's only a select few people that I have right now. And that's just from working with them. My old
Yeah.
band being one of them. An artist from one of the other bands we worked with being one of them. And then I have a new artist that I'm working with, Zay Hill. He's in Atlanta. But it's just stuff that I've done with people that I think, and it's not like I'm sending every track out. That's
Right.
another thing I'm not going to do is just send music out because I want people on my stuff. Like I'm going to
Sure.
make sure that it's something that I know they'll sound good on and I know they'll like.
Yeah.
So that way they're not just getting bombarded with stuff from me. Um,
Right.
but it took me a long time, and that's just experience. I'm not going any one place to find those connects. You just get those connects from um, experience and going out places and being involved in as many
Totally.
music things as possible, and just
Yeah.
basically it's the stuff that kind of falls into your lap, but at the same time stuff that you worked for because you worked to get to the place that gives you those connections and that you
Right.
meet those people. But then after that it's just kind of whatever falls into your lap from just going.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. Music is an industry that requires a lot of thinking and no thinking at all at the
Dude.
same time.
Right.
Like you
And you
need to
got
be aware. You need to be aware,
yeah.
but at the same time, like you just got to go. You have to just keep moving, and you have to have a vision for yourself that doesn't include anybody else,
Uh-huh.
and go towards that vision. But on the way, include everybody else.
Right. And you got to know which to do, which, no thinking or thinking completely. You got to know which one to do at which time, and you know what I
Yeah,
mean, just do it at the right
and you're
time.
not
But
going to know that unless you try,
yeah.
like unless you go through it. Like I've
Right.
had so many experiences through my 20s. Like I'll be 30 in March. So
Uh-huh.
my 20s seems like forever. This seems like the longest decade because I did so much.
Uh-huh.
And if it's not a 50-50 split, it's probably greater in favor that I lost. But
Hmm.
now I'm confident going into my 30s because I know the next decade is going to provide more wins because I experienced so many losses and I learned from them.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't do any of that stuff and if I thought about it too much, I just tweeted about this the other day about overthinking.
Yeah.
If I thought about it and just everybody else was doing,
Uh-huh.
then they're getting that knowledge and experience that I should have got from
Yeah.
doing it. You don't get any knowledge or experience from just thinking about something because the
Right.
outcomes that you get when you think about something are all made up because
Right.
there's no proof or validation that's giving you any factual basis on those results because nothing ever happened. At
Right.
least if you go through something and you lose, you get a tangible thing that you can learn from,
Yeah, exactly.
good or bad,
Right.
but you're never going to have that unless you actually do it. So like the connections that I have, some of them are from cold calling, some of them are from just going down my path and
Right.
connections that I genuinely organically got from just doing stuff.
Definitely. It's definitely, you got to just do it. You got to start wherever you think, and also don't be constricted to doing one thing in this business. You can,
Yep.
there's so many different streams of income and so many different streams of just connecting with people and all that stuff. It's not going to be original music or nothing, you know. And that for me was I was in my head about that for a long time, about just being the rock star, which is like the 1% thing. You know, 1% of 1% of musicians are, you know, Adam Levine or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But
I was in
so
that same mindset as well. I
right.
mean, because we got signed by an independent label, and I thought, well, this is it. They moved us out to California for a year. I wasted a year of what I should, like, if I went back now with my mindset and with, you know, my work ethic,
Yeah.
dude, home run. The position that we were put in when we were 24, or 23 or 24, was insanely amazing. But we were too young and we were too egocentric and about ourselves, and like it was like we already made it, but we were no one. You
Right.
have to have the humility and the humbleness,
Right.
or be humble enough to understand that you're never going to make it with that mentality.
It's constant learning, you know what I mean? And I even have to think about that every day. And even though I I just say it out loud, man, like you gotta be willing to learn. Not everything you do is perfect. You know what I mean? And I also love having, my dad is someone who I can go to and he can see the full, you know, he can see it in a much bigger picture than I am. He's like, all right, well, if you do this, maybe in 3 or 4 years, you can go here and do this and all that stuff. Because
Yeah.
he's been through this shit. But it's definitely a mentality thing, and you have to force yourself to think, be open-minded constantly, and don't think you're everything.
Yeah.
Don't think you're amazing at at everything, because there's always new ideas, there's always different ways of approaching things, and everything
And
like
that's
that.
another thing too, which it sounds like you're, I guess, lucky enough to have, like myself, support from the family and like those closest to you is huge. Like I'm not ignorant to the fact that I have it a little easier than a lot of people.
Right.
I actually have it a lot easier than a lot of people. But understanding that you could just because of like what, like some people call it spoiled, but in my opinion, it's only spoiled if you don't appreciate it. Like, so
Or if you
like
don't use it,
I
yeah.
fully understand the sacrifices my parents went through to make sure that
Right.
I could chase my dream, and that I'm still chasing my dream. And like,
Yeah.
you know, my fiance, her support, like a lot of people have a hard time getting to where I'm at mentally,
Right.
because it's really hard when no one else, it feels like no one else around you is on your side.
Right.
And there are a lot of people that go through that. And that's why I try and preach it as much as possible and want to be that for those people, because I know that I had that. So
Sure.
I want to be able to give that to other people that don't have that. Because
Right.
if you truly believe in yourself and you really, truly want to do this, I want to see you do it.
Right.
But it's hard when your parents aren't on your side, when they're like, what are you doing? You're wasting your life away. When there's
Right.
no support from your friends, everybody thinks you're a joke. Like that
Sure.
sucks. And I know that because I didn't have that, mentally, it was easier for me to get through some of those tough times of like thinking I'm never going to make it.
Yeah.
But it's really something that I want to make sure that people understand, is that if you truly believe that you have something to offer
Yeah.
the world and the industry, that you do it, and nobody else's opinion matters.
Yeah, it is amazing, but like, yeah, me and you, our families, and Jesus, I'm getting married next year, and she's completely on board with what I'm doing, and I can't
Yeah.
believe why. I can't fucking
Yeah.
believe it. But it really is amazing when you find people in your life that are like passionate about what you're passionate about, and they're like, I don't care, I believe in you so much. And yeah, we grew up with families that pushed us. I literally had a sit down with my parents. I lived with them till I was 27, right?
Yeah.
But I was also writing with them and producing with them and learning from them. So
Yeah.
I think as a writer, I've been doing it for 10 years, really for 4 or 5 years, hardcore 4 or 5 years. I'm probably 10 or 20 years ahead of my time
Yeah.
because I got to learn every single day from them. But they after high school, they pulled me out on the deck and they're like, we've seen you play guitar, we've seen you, you know, mess around with some songs or whatever.
Yeah.
You can do this. You don't have to go to college right away. You can live here and we'll produce your music and we'll help you write. And yeah, you're right. Not everyone has that.
Yeah.
But if you don't take it for granted, you know what I mean?
Right. And that's what I was saying. Like a lot of people
Right.
think it's spoiled, but
Yeah.
as long as you know that like as long as we know and we understand like what kind of opportunity that presents for somebody that wants to do music like we do, then I don't view it as spoiled or, you know, being a negative thing. Like I fully, and I know you fully, like appreciate the opportunity that we were given with that. And that's why I want to be able to, you know, make sure that other people that don't necessarily have that still have that
Absolutely.
push to get through some of their tough times.
And we can still have that, and this business will still fuck you up. You know what I mean?
100%.
1,000,000%. Like
that's a club to the knee is like you being able to have that opportunity and then still being like, I don't know.
It's okay. I just, you know, I spent whatever 3 years working on this single, and you're like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there were still a lot of losses through my 20s, but the couple wins. And it's crazy. Every time I got to the point where I was like, dude, I'm done with this. I need security. I need benefits. I need, you know, all this stuff. My girlfriend's going to leave me if I don't do this, whatever. Something would happen where I'm like, and I would show everybody that, you know, supports me. I would be like, look, this happened. And then there's that initial hunger. But once you get, I think I had to get through so many losses and then those little mini wins to finally stay in that hungry phase. So now it's like, I know that there's constantly going to be that. So now I'm not like discouraged until when the next one's coming. Now I'm like on top of that. I'm coming in on top of it. And now I'm just like, okay, let's get ahead of it. Like what is next? Like, let me get to that.
It also, it, you know, we can recognize great opportunities like this Music Boulevard one is one of my, I think, best opportunities I've had in a couple of years. You know what I mean? Like, especially in the sync world. I'm still brand new to it. But as far as just writing music and putting it out, I don't care that I don't have much of an audience right now. Like, I don't care that it's going into the ether as soon as I release it. I am so hyped about writing original music and you know what I mean? I still get excited by that, and that tells me that I'm doing the right thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I'm
that's
more
the other thing.
about.
That's the other thing too, is like with discouragement, like you have to, in order to be like happy with what you're doing, you have to view the opportunity as an opportunity and not a money-making thing. Like the quicker you realize that what you're doing is going to show minimal to no upfront monetary value, but the weight of the opportunity itself to catapult you to get to those money-making opportunities, you have to work on that. And then there's stuff that you do to supplement, you know, kind of what you're doing. But you need to recognize the opportunity for money-making opportunities and not just money-making opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you're going in to play some fucking dive bar in the middle of Columbus, Ohio, where there's like literally a tree stump in the middle of the room. You're like, oh, okay, that's cool. My Friday night.
We had so I'm from the Philly area, but like the lowest of the lows was like we had a show and it was this pretty big venue, but we showed up. They didn't have all the equipment that they said they did in the advance. So we had no like click in our ear. So it was already going to be like a really terrible show.
Yeah.
And then the only person that was there was somebody listening to the Phillies game with big headphones on, sitting at the bar.
Oh Jesus!
Wasn't even listening to the music.
Fuck, man? Were you drummer? Listening. Were you a drummer, by the way?
I was bassist.
Bass player. Cool.
Yeah. So the drum set's behind me. That's just, you know, for whoever.
Hey man, most producers that I know come from rhythm, bass or drums. You know what I mean?
Listen, I can sequence the hell out of drums, but when you get me on the actual sticks, on the actual throne, I'm like Helen Keller.
That's the joke of the year right there. Jesus, man. I was gonna say, yeah, when I was early on playing, I would go to this open mic and fucking nobody there. It's a dive bar in Cincinnati. And so I eventually I get to play a room there, you know. I get to have my own night there. My name's on the marquee, first time ever. I take a picture of it, you know, show the whole world. You know, it's like 50 or 60 seater, and I played with a bartender whole fucking night. That's it. Nobody was there.
We've had so many of them,
dude. It becomes like
it's humbling.
It's humbling, but after a while, you're like, yeah, I still love this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If after that you can still say that you love it, you know what I mean?
Right. I think enough of those, because like I love creating, I love playing, and I loved singing. But I think after so many of those, for me, like my true passion is the creation and the production, like the science behind how it sounds. And because when we were playing shows, I was running our sound, so I was a sound engineer, and then I was going to play the show, and then I was breaking down sound afterwards. Like sometimes I almost liked engineering more than the actual performing. So it got to a point where I started to resent music as a whole because I felt forced to go to these venues that I didn't want to go to. Right. And that was part of the decision to back out of the band and then really hone in on the production and that part of it. Because I wanted to be home. I was missing out on family parties. I was missing out on birthdays. I was missing out on a ton of stuff. Like, you understand the sacrifice you're going to make when you go into that. Yeah. But for me, I started to resent music as a whole. And what I didn't want to do was get to a point where I just hated music all together and like backed out. So like there were some shows where I was on top of the world, like, and it was amazing. And I loved the traveling. Like I've been to, I don't know, probably 39 states playing shows.
Sure. Yeah.
But still, that was when I was younger. And now that I'm at the point that I'm at, like I'm much happier with what I'm doing.
Well, you're looking at the is it worth it kind of factor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, we used to say for who, for what. Like, so it's like if there was a venue we walked in and it was just like, all right, it becomes a paycheck instead of like the experience.
Yeah.
Then it's like, all right, for who, for what? It's for us. So, and sometimes, honestly, those were a little more fun because you didn't have to think so much about perfecting the songs you were playing. Like you could kind of experiment a little bit. We had one show where we had like 5, 6 people and they were enjoying it, but we were like, dude, let's just have fun. Like, let's do something weird. So like we played a whole Blink-182 song laying on the floor. They could only see our drummer and we just laid on the floor and sang and played the whole thing. Like,
that's fucking awesome. Some of that stuff is the best, man.
Yeah, so we had some good times. It's definitely fun.
Yeah, some of that it can be. I literally played a showcase in New York for Atlantic Records. Fucking the night before, I had bought a ticket, bought everything. You know, they weren't paying for anything, of course. I had to get out there myself. But I know, dude, and I got out. But I was. By the way, this is only a couple years ago, so I can't say I was super young. But but I'm from the Midwest where not a lot of show business happens. And when something like that happens, it like kind of,
it's a big deal.
It's like, this is, you guys are correct for asking me. You guys are right for asking me out there. Like, but the night before I get on the plane, they send me an email and they're like, hey, the lady from Atlantic Records isn't going to be there, but some subsidiary label lady is going to be there. And so I get there. It's a bar called Pianos in New York, and my girlfriend flies out with me, and she's all supportive through everything. But so we're staying in this shitty Airbnb where people like literally the dude who had the Airbnb, it was illegal. He couldn't have. He wasn't supposed to have it, and the cops showed up that night after we got back from the club.
Wow,
but it's just, but in Pianos in this bar, this back room. Nobody was there. Literally no. I was on the bill with like 5 bands, and a couple of them I'm still lifelong, friends with and all that stuff. But while I was playing, I was the only solo musician. While I was playing, there were like 5 or 6 people who were staring at me and just loving it, and that made it worth it for me.
That's great. Yeah. Then that's the way we viewed it.
Yeah.
Also, like we would travel all over, and like a majority of the time, we're just background noise for. People going out and sitting at the bar or whatever.
Right.
But we had a select 5 or 6 people at least at each show that were
Yeah.
singing our original lyrics that we wrote
That's cool.
and our song that we, created from nothing.
That's awesome.
Singing, like we would cut out vocals and we could hear our lyrics being screamed back to us. Those were the times where it was like, all right, this is cool. Like
That's a dream. Yeah.
we're influencing someone's life or inspiring someone or motivating someone. Like that's
Right.
cool to get them through that whatever time that song resonated with them. We
Right.
created that moment for them, and that was a really, really cool feeling to have.
That is, it went from being rock. That's my goal now. That's one of my goals now is to do that. Literally have a crowd singing back your own lyrics.
Yeah.
On stage, and it downgraded from being a rock star to that. And at this point, I'm just happy being in this business, and I want to make a living. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That comes with age. Because when I was 18, I was like, dude, I want to be the biggest producer or the biggest songwriter in the world.
Yeah.
And then as we get older, we realize you don't go from A to Z, you go from A to B. So finding out, like, it's like the Benjamin Button of the alphabet. When you're 18, you're looking A to Z. And then by the time you're like late 20s, you get A, B, C.
Yeah.
Work your way backward.
Like, have you worked in bigger studios or how was that?
We just from the band, like when we initially got signed, they moved us out to LA and we were there for a year, and I got to work with a lot of great engineers. Guion Wright, who worked with I think Foo Fighters and like Paul McCartney, some stuff like there. At the sound recorder in LA. But I was just at that point in time, I was the artist, so I really kind of took a back seat.
Sure.
And I was kind of just watching what they were doing.
Yeah.
Like I haven't actually produced like that. This is part of my bucket list now, where I haven't actually produced. I'm pretty much digital where I'm at here.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But I would love to do something like in a studio with analog outboard gear and like really produce like a full track that way. You can do a lot from where I'm at. Like I'm pretty sustainable doing what I'm doing.
Definitely.
And at reasonably low cost. But I think it would be awesome to fully understand, because I don't even really know much about it. Like I don't know the wiring and the signal flow and stuff. I'm sure I can pick it up pretty quickly because I'm very interested in it. Yeah. But like I would
that really. Like,
I would just love to understand it and be in there.
Yeah, I mean, and I have a audio production degree, and in school we took a analog class, and I failed it because it sucks. It's hard, and I'm not going to need it ever. And again, like the low cost thing, every single day costs are going down for producers and musicians to be able to just literally everyone's going subscription model now. Fucking Slate.
I just signed up for a subscription the other day.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm about to get the Waves one. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I feel like I have 4 or 5. I just did the auto tune complete because I didn't have Antares or I was using Waves tune. I had Melodyne. Like I like Melodyne a lot, but just for like an added vocal processing, I see a lot of videos and a lot of producers using the Antares auto tune. So it was like pay $400 for auto tune Pro,
right?
Or pay $25 a month and you get all 12 of their plugins. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll do the subscription.
Yeah, that's what I'm in. Like now I'm just waiting for other companies to do it, man, because I just want. Do you have what kind of bass stuff do you have? Not to get too nerdy on software.
For real bass, I have it's Contact. I use the Rickenbacker, which I love.
Love it.
I use it for pretty much everything that I want live bass for. And then for synth bass stuff, I mean I use a lot of Massive.
Okay, yeah, that works.
I'm trying to think of what else I use. More recently than anything, I've been doing just a lot of 808 sample stuff. I just got Sublab, which that was a one-time purchase. That was $40, but you can basically design your own sub bass or your own bass in general. And it makes it super easy and simple for you. but it was like $40 and you can sample whatever you want. So like you sample a kick drum that you like, and then you can pinpoint the frequency that you want, and it just turns it into a bass. And then you can mess with the distortion of it. You can mess with the width. You can mess with the frequency. So that was a really cool one. I want to start playing around with that more.
Yeah. The standard for me, because again, I grew up with singer songwriter music, pop music. So it was like Trillion is in there, but again, they won't go. Do you have it or?
I think I do. I have that, and I have Bass Slapper, which is from
that one.
I think it's Native Instruments. I'm not really sure though.
Maybe Spectronics makes Trillion. Maybe I forget. I don't know.
Yeah,
we're getting in the weeds here. But yeah, a lot of that. But the point being, not really many excuses if you want to make great music these days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, especially with everything subscription based. I mean, they kind of make it as available as they can to you without like breaking your bank.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're realizing that the overhead cost. I feel like music went from this big rig. It was Universal, Sony, like all the top, and then they only had the power to hire engineers and studios and whatever. And then as time went on, all these little TikTok artists and like Instagram artists and independent people just started putting out music, and it's going down to where it's a flat surface to where all the plug-in people are like, okay, it's no longer big studios and big record companies paying tens of thousands of dollars for this outboard gear and these plugins and whatever. There's a lot of independent people that will buy it. So we can almost make more money selling to 5 million everyday producers that just want this stuff for a $20, $30, $40 subscription monthly, versus a one-time payment of like 6 people buying a $10,000 piece of gear or a $5,000 plugin.
Do you know Slate Digital?
Yeah. I don't have any of their stuff, but I hear so much about it.
That was the first subscription I got, and it's top quality LA studio stuff for $10 a month. And it's just, and this guy was like, Steven Slate was just like, yeah, you guys can have it for $10 a month, $15 a month. And then I feel like
that's what I'm going to look into.
Yeah, there's companies following that now. They're like, okay, well, we can't make money if we're going to sell an Antares auto tune for $400, which I've been eyeing for years.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm not gonna do that really but yeah, it's really amazing. That
music is we're experiencing history in so many ways in the last 5-10 years, and especially this year. We're experiencing it even if we don't know what's happening. Like when people look back at transitions for everything, life, music, the way things work, like 20 years from now, from 2019 through 2021 is going to be a pivotal time that they're like, a lot of things changed throughout that year with live streaming, with concerts, with the way people write music, with how collaborations work, with how expos work with A&R reps, with a lot of it. Like, even though we don't know it's happening right now. Yeah. And hindsight is always more clear years later when you're farther away from it. But it's going to be interesting to really research like what were pivotal moments in music history.
Yeah, this is definitely a big one, man. As we're going through this election as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But dude, I want to thank you so much for doing this. This was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. It was a great conversation. I'm glad I finally got to meet you and chat with you.
Yeah, I'm glad I got to, see your face and have you see mine at the same time, as opposed to me just watching your Twitch and being like, I kind of know that guy.
The internet rules.
So RyzeOfficialMusic.com, is that right?
RyzeOfficialMusic.com. That has all of my beat catalog. The goal for 2021 is just to get an actual full-blown website, but I use Twitch as my main hub for everything, and you can find everything on there. I have a Discord, Instagram, Twitter,
Mhm.
All that stuff you can find from Twitch, and that's twitch.tv/Ryze official music.
How often are you going live?
Right now, I do every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night from 7 to 10 Eastern Standard Time. But in the coming months, probably starting sometime in December, I'm gonna try and do 5 days a week. I'm gonna try and make it like a weekly work thing. Because I have some studio time opening up. So, but we'll see. Right now, it's definitely set in stone that I do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday,
Cool.
from at 7 Eastern.
Awesome. Cool, man. Thanks again for doing this.
Yeah.
And we'll get you out of here. I'll play this outro music here, and then yeah, I'll talk to you soon, I'm sure, about some of the sync stuff.
Yeah, I know.
But, thanks again,
yeah,
man.
let's get a placement, dude.
Yeah, let's do it.